talk to Gage.
Alrighty, and hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Recently I've been kind of struggling to find new video ideas. I still have a few videos scheduled out to come out in the next few weeks, but I really wanted to sit down and record something because, to be honest, today's been kind of a boring day for me. I was just kind of sitting around playing some Shin Megami Tensei 5 because I recently picked that up, and anyways, I decided that I wanted to record something. So I was sitting here trying to think of different video ideas that I wanted to make, and I even consulted with my list because I have a list of videos that I eventually want to make. And then I kind of didn't use any of those ideas, and instead I decided that I wanted to rank all of the Fire Emblem games and make that a video for all of you because I haven't done something like this in a while. I think the last tier list video I made was one I did with my little brother Gabriel, and we called it the everything tier list, where we just ranked random stuff, and I thought it was a pretty funny video, but it got like under 10 views. It was like nothing at all. So if y'all are interested, you should go check that out. But that's not what we're ranking today. Like I said, today we're ranking the Fire Emblem series. And as you all know, Fire Emblem is probably my favorite video game franchise. It is my favorite video game franchise of all time. And not only that, it's probably my favorite just media franchise of all time. And I know that's some very big words I'm using right now, but I really do mean it. I really do mean it. This is just an incredibly special series to me personally. And to me, there's just nothing quite like it. And I've made videos on this channel in the past as to why this is my favorite series. So I recommend going and watching those if you're curious to learn more about why. But anyways, with all that being said, I say we jump right into this. Okay guys, so here we are. I set up the list to all the games I've never played before. I put them in the bottom rack, which is never played. There's a good chunk of them I never have, and that's why I was kind of hesitant to make this video, because there's another video that's on my list to eventually do, which is the Ghibli movie tier list. But the reason why I haven't made that one yet is because I want to watch all the Ghibli movies before I do it, and I am this close. I'm so close to watching all of them, and I actually collect them on Blu-ray, so I almost literally have all the movies at this point. But I realized with Fire Emblem, so many of these games are either in Japan only or are just straight up expensive as heck. And I'll probably never get my hands on these versions of the games unless they like re-release them in some form. So I went ahead and threw all those down here in the bottom. And let's jump right in. We're gonna do these probably in the order that is listed here. So starting out with Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon. Okay, so this is the remake of the first game in the series. And a funny story, I actually played this like a month before they announced back in, I think it was 2020. Yeah, it was 2020 because that was the 30th anniversary for Fire Emblem. Literally a month before they announced that they were releasing the original Fire Emblem to the Switch, I bought this. I was like, wow. It didn't actually bother me that much because I really want to play all the Fire Emblem games, so I was honestly excited, and it is still inconceivably stupid that Nintendo got rid of Fire Emblem 1 from the eShop, so you can't buy it anymore. Incredibly stupid, the dumbest thing ever, but this game in and of itself, really good. In all honesty, I know a lot of people look at this one kind of negatively, at least from what I've seen, because it doesn't have a lot of the modern aspects that a lot of Fire Emblem games have nowadays, and I totally understand that because a lot of people don't like the support logs and things like that aren't in the game. But I personally actually find a lot of enjoyment in this game because of that. As weird as that is, I kind of like that you can almost map on character personalities, and it's not like super like set, like well written or scripted. It's almost feels like an indie game in that way. But anyways, with that and the permadeath mechanics are solid. It's really a fun game, very easy to go back to as long as you have a DS or a 3DS to play it on. Excellent game, but not the greatest at the same time. So I'm currently going to put it in C tier, but we might revisit all this later. And I should also say as well that S tier is something I reserve only for like the peak of the series or whatever it is that we're ranking. This is the Fire Emblem series tier list. So this is where does each Fire Emblem stack up to one another, and S tier is reserved for only the best of the best. That's how I like to look at it. Oh boy, so next up right here is Fire Emblem Awakening. Oh boy. So this, as some of you, some of my more avid fans will know, that this is actually my favorite game of all time. It was my first Fire Emblem game I played when I was only like 10 years old. I was really young at the time, and it absolutely blew my mind. I'd never played anything like it. It was a funny story because when I originally saw it, I saw my brother Gavin playing it. I thought it looked so boring. I was like, dude, this game looks like the most boring basic thing you could possibly play, because you don't even like press a button to attack as the character. You just like move them around. I was like, how could that be fun? So I was kind of critical of this one, but of course as soon as I played it, which I played it it was the day that we ran out of power at our house, and I sat out in my mom's van and turned it on to charge my 3DS. That's when I first played it, and well, here we are today. So it's an excellent game. Is it S tier? It's really not, as sad as it is. For me, subjectively, I would probably put it maybe in S tier. But me personally, I have to put it in A tier just because of what this game did for the series. The marriage mechanic is excellent. The characters are also very, very good. And but a few negatives are things like some characters maybe aren't the best, and some people don't like the 3 arc structure in Awakening. I personally have found a lot to like about it. So I don't actually mind it as much as a lot of other people do. But probably my least favorite thing about Awakening is the map design and the pair-up mechanic. As a kid, I absolutely adored the pair-up mechanic. I thought it was ingenious and was a lot of fun, but it's not really my favorite anymore, because I think it kind of takes away some of the aspects that you're supposed to have in a Fire Emblem game. And it just changes how you play it. So honestly, when I revisit it, I barely use the mechanic because I just would rather get more experience with everyone. But yeah, the map design, it usually boils down to, at least in my experience playing on, I think, hard mode, not lunatic, but hard, is usually just defense. You're gonna wanna like stay in position, and then enemies are gonna rush you, and there's no point in like running out towards them when you can just hunker down in a spot and you're more defended. So not every map, but that's a lot of maps. But still, I think this game does deserve the A ranking just for everything it did. All right, so next up is Fire Emblem Birthright. So Birthright was of course, the second Fire Emblem I played, and I was so hyped for this coming out after enjoying Awakening so much. And honestly, spoilers for later, with N-Gage, I actually have grown to appreciate Fate's story a whole lot more than N-Gage. Still not good, trust me, not an excellent story whatsoever, but it at least was trying to do something interesting and cool, and I can respect it for that. However, I don't know, like, it's fun to play, and honestly it has some really good characters. Conquest or Revelations, either one. Xander, one of my favorite, honestly, Fire Emblem characters probably ever. Super cool character. But this is Birthright. It was the first one I played. I thought it was really good overall, and I wouldn't mind replaying the Fates games, but Birthright is probably, it's not great. I don't know. I'm kind of torn on this one. Maybe it's kind of a C tier game. Possibly. I don't know. This might be heresy to some of y'all. Oh, and I actually haven't technically played Conquest either. I feel weird putting it away because I've played the other one so much, but yes, technically I own Conquest. It's on the shelf. Y'all probably remember from the video I made talking about my Fire Emblem shelf, but I never actually played Conquest, and still haven't, so yeah. I want to, really do. It's on my backlog. Eventually I want to play through it, but I guess I'm slow too, just because I know it's fairly similar to Birthright or Revelations. But for now, we're gonna put Birthright probably in C tier. I don't know, there's so much content though, and that's what's hard, because like Shadow Dragon, it is a relatively bare bones Fire Emblem game. Like, it's just the story, you play through it, you beat it, you know, you move on with your life. No supports, really not a ton of content, but what's there is just really fun to play. Birthright just has a lot, man. Like, it really does. We'll move on, maybe we'll come back. So Revelations is next. This game is awesome. It's gonna be up here for me, B or A, because Revelation is the actual Fates game, is how I describe it, because Conquest and Birthright are basically like $40 demos of this game. Revelations is like the real one, because there never should have been multiple versions for a game like this. It should have just been one game, and then you decide which path you wanted. And honestly, it would have been better if they just fleshed out each route more and made them unique and interesting, and then just didn't have Revelations. That's what I personally think. But if they wanted to like add Revelations as DLC later on, but Birthright and Conquest are one game, then maybe that'd be fine. But overall, Revelations is the way to play this game. Like, if you're only gonna play one, just buy Birthright or Conquest and then buy Revelations if you can afford that, obviously. Actually, you can't. I almost forgot. You literally can't buy this nowadays, because I just forgot the 3DS and Wii U eShop went down. So yeah, Revelations is kind of dead to time, honestly. So if you're watching this in the future or currently, then you literally can't play this one. Dang. But dang it, for what it is, it probably is an A tier. I hope this isn't like a dumb hot take, but I think it's good. I think it's really good. There's so much to do in this game, and you can just replay it forever. I wish this game was on Switch so bad, or just a modern Nintendo console, because it'd be so nice to just play this all the time. Instead, we're stuck with N-Gage. Okay, next up, Fire Emblem Shadows of Valentia. This game is awesome. This is a phenomenal game. The support system in this one is not my favorite, and I don't really interact with it a whole lot personally. However, the story, especially at the beginning and end of the game, is top tier and excellent. And I overall do think it is a better game than probably both Awakening and Revelations. I think that there's so much more this game gets right, and I think as a game, it is probably better than those two. I personally probably would play Awakening or Revelations over it, just because, again, if I play Shadows of Valentia, it's only going to be to play through the main story, and one day I'm going to beat Grima. That's a little secret at the end of that one. Still have never done it, but it's one of those things that I'm not in any rush, because I eventually want to do that, but I feel like I'm gonna put everything in freaking A tier, but it is an A tier game. It is really cool. It is an amazing game. It's so interesting. Some people don't like Celica, like at the end of the game. Some people think she was really dumb. I never was that critical of the decision, the situation, and all that junk. I actually personally probably like her more as a character. She's just different than the typical Fire Emblem Lord, and I like her a lot, so. Let me also make sure I'm still recording. I don't want to get further along and then realize I'm just like talking into the void and I have to redo it. That would suck. Anyways, next up is the game that started it all, Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon: The Blade of Light. So this game is surprisingly good. Now, what I will say is obviously it's a Famicom game, or basically an NES game. It's old, 1990, hasn't aged the best, but what I will say is what is there is surprisingly good. So I'm going to rank this based on where we are in 2023 right now. So not necessarily, I will take in consideration what it did for the whole genre of strategy games, but with that, it definitely doesn't stack up some of these. So I'm gonna have to put it in D tier, because going back to it is not super easy. However, it's basically just Shadow Dragon, but slightly less good. At least that's my opinion. I think Shadow Dragon is just the definitive way to play this game, and I'm glad that we got that in the West. Next up is Fire Emblem Blazing Blade. So I literally just finished this one only a few weeks ago on Nintendo Switch Online. the expansion pass with the Game Boy Advance. But the thing is, I actually played like most of this game, like 80% of it, and that was back on the Wii U, but I never finished it. And also, I didn't really pay attention to the story or the writing or characters very much at the time either. So going back to it was actually super exciting. I was so pumped to play this again. The game itself, I think, is surprisingly still amazing. Very good. When it comes to story though, I'm kind of two minds, because the first half, all right, so first there's Lynn's story, because this game is long as crap. It's so long. The first part with Lynn's story is really solid, and honestly, when I first played the game, I thought that was the game, but then it kept going. But it's really good. But once that ends, you get into Eliwood's Tale, and the first half of that is really good as well, because there's the intrigue with Lord Elbert, which is Eliwood's dad, and you're trying to figure out the Black Fang, and there's a lot of mystery going on, and I like that. I thought that was really cool. But once you get into the second half and you find out everything that happens with Lord Elbert and all that happens and you move on from there, I personally found the story to become a little more generic. It almost reverts back to being like Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon, or the original, because it's just moving until we eventually get to the Black Fang and wipe them out. And it's, aside from a few interesting things with Ninian and her brother Nils, really nothing else interesting happens that I can remember in the story. So I don't know, I feel like the first half was just like really intriguing and I was really into it. But aside from that, any moment between Eliwood and Hector is like the best moments in the game for me personally, because I think they're great. Or Eliwood and Ninian, because I think they're adorable. But overall, I think it is an awesome game. It's killing me. This is such a hard ranking. It is probably in here with Shadow Dragon though. I'd probably put them in a similar rank personally. I think that makes sense. So yeah, Sacred Stones is next. I played this on my Game Boy Advance. I am hoping they add it to NSO later on as well, and they probably will. Hopefully it'll be in the next year though. So I only played Erica's route. I never played Ephraim's route of the game, because like Fire Emblem 2 houses basically, but it is very good. It's kind of easy, but then again, like I'm probably not the first person to go to figure out if it's really easy or not, just because I've played so much Fire Emblem, and honestly I don't find most of them that difficult, minus like usually the final level or the final few, or at least like really difficult. Of course there's an adequate level of challenge, but with Sacred Stones, I like the monster designs because they included different monsters in this one. The story was interesting and honestly probably better than Blazing Blade, if I'm being honest. Overall, it probably was. So from what I can remember, because it's probably been about a year maybe since I played this, if it got a remake, it would be awesome. It would be so cool to see some of that stuff remade. I think it was really good though. I don't know. I think this one might B or C. I don't know. It's probably hanging out in here. Probably a C tier. That's where I'm going to put it for now. Next up is Fire Emblem Engage. So I've already been kind of talking smack about this game throughout this video already. I was extremely disappointed with this one. I made a video on this channel reviewing it and kind of talking about it. My take is that it's very 50-50. If you like gameplay and supports, you got it. Like, it's here, it's in this game. But if you like the story, big L. This game is horrendously written. I see very little redeeming qualities about it, and it is hard to replay because of that. Like, I literally started a second playthrough. I got like 1 or 2 missions in and just decided like, I'm not gonna do this. Well, like, why would I play it again if I know the story is just not good at all? And I would just rather grind out and get all the support logs instead. But aside from that, aside from the story being absolutely trash and the worst story that the Fire Emblem series has ever put out, I do like the characters a lot. I think there are certain ones that are better than others. A lot of them are also kind of generic or one note, just not very interesting to me. But I will say there's a few big standouts. Characters like Panette or Pandreo, I really like both of them, those siblings. Or Saphir, the Great Knight from Brodia. She was also extremely cool. And honestly, all the old people in that game were awesome. Like Vander was really cool, and then there was the other guy from Illusia. His name is slipping my mind at the moment, but him. They were all pretty cool. And also gosh, I'm forgetting people's names. Crap, we're just gonna look it up. What is the kid Fire Emblem? What is it called? What is their country called? Main characters. I butchered that so bad. Oh wait. Hold up. Fire Emblem Engage. Alright, here. What is his name? I literally cannot remember what his name. Alfred, that's right. I'm such an idiot. Yeah, and Alfred was pretty cool, and Princess Ivy was also really cool. I like both of them. But yeah, overall, I am not a fan of this game. I would not replay it or recommend it to first time. Fire Emblem fans, honestly, I'd probably recommend something like Three Houses over this if you have a Switch. I don't know, man. Is it F tier? I think it might be. Oh boy. I think it is. It's my least favorite Fire Emblem, honestly, and also, let me also say this. I don't know if I mentioned this in my video, but after beating the game, it annoys me to no end how every single skirmish is max level 20. So you can literally never grind with your weaker characters. So early in the game, I stopped using Vander because he's the Jagan archetype and they usually start sucking by the end of the game. And I wanted to avoid it, so I just didn't use him for most of the game. But then by the end, I'm like, well, I really want his supports. So now I'm literally screwed and I have to do all of the side activities to get supports with him. That really sucks. I wish there was a way to like change the level of skirmishes, because if you could do that, I'd be playing this game right now. I'd be playing it even more. And I put like almost 200 hours into this game. Like I played it a lot. But that honestly is like one of my biggest pet peeves with this game. It just infuriates me. I'm like, why is this like this? Even the DLC characters. Literally after you get the DLC characters, it still doesn't scale, and they're all weak. Like they can't even take the max level units. N-Gage just has so many problems, and yeah, there's some redeemable qualities, but honestly, I think there's just a misstep in so many ways. So I would put in F or D. It may be a D tier, maybe just my anger is getting to me, but currently it's there. Fire Emblem Heroes is a spin-off. It's a mobile game. I've played it a fair little bit, kind of. I can never get into it as much as I want to because I feel like it's cool to be into this game, but I never got into it, and I don't think it's that good. I mean, it's cool to collect characters, but it's not a good Fire Emblem. And the reason why I say that is it's more of a puzzle game, you know? It's not like a real Fire Emblem. Like you could recreate the same characters and moves in whatever map it is, and you can just recreate it because it's, like I said, it's very set. There's not many randomized elements to this one. Oh boy, Fire Emblem Three Houses. Let me just knock that out of the way. Three Houses is the peak of the franchise in my opinion. From everything I have played, it is probably the best one. Even though Awakening is my personal favorite, I think Three Houses is the best one, and it stands up there as one of the best strategy games, JRPGs I've ever played. That's my mom in the background. But yeah, Three Houses, all the characters are phenomenal. The stories are all excellent. I think Claude's story might be the one that's lacking a little bit. It's just not as focused as the other three routes. But overall, an absolutely stellar game. And if you have a Switch, I highly recommend you play it. Fire Emblem Three Hopes, when I first bought this and played it, I was very cynical. Like, I was very downtrodden on this game, and I was pretty brutal with it because I really didn't enjoy it that much, and I was kind of annoyed with it. But after getting back into it after a while, like I let this game sit for a long time, I went back and finally finished out the third route playing Claude's, and I had a blast. Like, I enjoyed playing this. I don't know if it's just like, you know, leaving the promised land and coming back and, you know, drinking of the waters and just being so rejuvenated and happy to be back at a quality game again. But I just like this one so much, and honestly I have such high opinions of it now, and I had a lot of fun. It's a Warriors game, it's a spin-off. I'm still gonna rank it on here though, because it's still a Fire Emblem game, and it is really cool. I think it's incredible, honestly. Like, it's not the absolute greatest thing ever, but I really do like it. And I find little to be upset because it just expanded on the Three Houses story. And honestly, whenever I look at this game, I just look at it with a huge smile on my face. So I'm gonna go B tier. And next is the original Fire Emblem Warriors. So this one is not nearly as good as Three Hopes. It does run better though. It looks prettier as well, which was interesting to find out when I went back and booted it up for a little bit after playing Three Hopes. The game itself though, huge disappointment because it's basically just Fire Emblem Warriors 3DS edition, because it's just characters from the modern games plus Marth. That's basically it. And then they included Celica like in DLC or something like that. And then they included DLC for other characters, but they're just characters from like Awakening and Fates. And look, I adore those games and they're so fun, but it really sucks because if it was Fire Emblem Warriors, they should have representation from every single game. Like, they should have included the main character, kind of like how Engage did it, but in a Warriors game. Just included the main character from each one. That's all they had to do, but they didn't do that. Stories, whatever, from what I remember. The main character, Rowan, is super annoying. Not nearly as good as Three Hopes. Not necessarily bad though. It's still fairly fun to play, but it's significantly lower. So I'm gonna say it's a D tier. And finally is another spin-off slash not really a Fire Emblem game at all, but I'm gonna rank it because I've played it and I have an opinion. So Tokyo Mirage Sessions Sharp FE Encore. I played that on Switch. I never played it on Wii U because I thought it was weird and I didn't know what it was. And even now, I still think it's one of the weirdest games Nintendo has ever published. It is so odd that this ever even happened. But it was pretty fun. It was a fun game. And honestly, I enjoyed playing it. And I wish I could replay it. But every single time I try to get back into it, I just can't. And here's my opinion on this game in a nutshell. This is not really Fire Emblem and Shin Megami crossover. That statement already I don't think most people would contest me on, because there's barely anything combining the two based on what the original trailer was for it. But really, it's more like Fire Emblem cross Persona, because in Shin Megami, I'm literally currently running through and playing Shin Megami Tensei 5, having a blast. It's a really awesome RPG. But this one, in what I've played Shin Megami is almost like a Pokemon game, just like a rated M Pokemon game. And it's way different. You know, this right here is different because you're not like recruiting monsters and then getting them to fight by your side. You're basically playing a Persona game, because there's, you know, you walk around Tokyo and you have like your friends, and you have like, I think there might have been social links in this one. There was some version of it where you could like hang out with your friends and they'd have like side stories. That's exactly what Persona, because Persona, instead of, you know, you go out there and you capture monsters and they fight with you like Pokemon, they're people, and then the creatures are assigned to specific people, and that's their persona. That's what this is like. So it's like, what is this game? And then plus there's the whole, you know, like idol, singer, and artist layer on top of it, and it makes zero sense. This game is bonkers crazy, but I still like it. I still enjoyed it. It's one of the weirdest things I've ever played. I think it's one of the weirdest pieces of art or RPGs ever. It's very odd, but it's also very unique and it's very upbeat. And honestly, I feel like a lot of people would jive with this one if you've never played it and that sounds like it would interest you. It has technically some Fire Emblem characters in it, but see, that's where they messed up, because if you ask me, a better way to do this would have been to create one character that's like the Shin Megami character, you know, and then you can recruit Fire Emblem characters, and they can still look weird if you want, like, sure, I mean, I don't think, either way, I mean, I don't really have too big of an opinion on that, but what they should have done is basically made a Shin Megami game where all of the creatures are Fire Emblem characters, and then you just, like, you know, maybe give them the weird design and everything. That would be so cool. Like, that would have been epic. Yeah, instead they did this weird Persona thing, and I don't know, but y'all tell me what y'all think about that. I think it's a genius idea, and they totally fumbled that, because that would have actually been way cooler, I think, of a game. But with all that being said, it is a quality experience. I played through the whole thing. The dungeon designs aren't great. It's a very mixed game for me personally. It doesn't have a lot of replay value, also to me personally. I think it's a D tier. I'm gonna have to settle on that one. So looking at my list over one last time, if we're gonna change anything, I would honestly, I think this might be good how it is, maybe, yeah, probably. Yeah, I'm gonna stick with this. This is my ranking. I'm gonna stick by it. So yeah, this is my official current Fire Emblem ranking before I one day will play these games, and then I will recreate this list maybe in the future. But I just wanted to sit down and create this video and put it out there to the interwebs and see what you all think. I was really just kind of bored over here, wanted to make a video, so this is something a little bit different. I haven't made something like this in a while, but I hope you all enjoyed. If you did, be sure to hit and smash that like button. That's a weird thing to say. That I've never said that before. I've never said that. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button. If you didn't, thank you for watching this long, and be sure to engage that subscribe button down below. But with all that being said, I will see you all in the next video. God bless. I wish I knew